6 antique dining room chairs. So now that we've finished repairing the frames, touching up the finish, we're going to move on to repadding, repairing, and reupholstering the dining room seats themselves. That's going to be the subject of our next video. I hope to see you there. My able assistant has taken all the seats off, and she's taken the cover off of all of them except for this last one so that I could talk about it. First thing we're going to notice with these seats is these staples. These staples come from a hand cranked staple gun. Kapow, kapow. So that tells me that whoever did this last was probably one of the previous owners of these chairs. It's very common. It's a nice project. Anybody can do these with just a simple hand staple gun. That looks like this one is done that way too. It is very, very common when you encounter old dining room seats that you will have more than one layer of fabric under it. It's pretty common. After all, as long as you don't see the fabric that's under it, it doesn't hurt the chairs. My record is 13 layers. 13 layers on one chair. There we go. One layer off. Taking this next layer off, I want to try to be a little gentler because I don't want to disturb all the fillings that are underneath. I felt horsehair crunching under this, which means it's probably, well, as you can see, raw cotton. If I'm too rough with that, it's just gonna tear apart, and then it's not gonna be fun. I don't want to have to replace all the fillings in these if I don't have to. There we go. Get that sharp. There we go. I do not want to rake my hands across a broken staple, although it happens every day anyways. No matter what I do to try to avoid it, sharps are just a way of life. Yep. Now, it's not necessary to take every staple out. Staples can slide in next to each other very nicely. But in this case, because it's got those broad staples and they're just falling out, we'll do it. There we go. Cover. And now we got the old cotton. Let's see what we got under this cotton. Yep. That there is rubberized horsehair. They take the hair, they'd mix it with rubber and this netting. And they'll make a nice firm base to build up from. Then you put cotton on it. We're going to restore these by putting another layer of the same exact unbleached raw cotton product. Now, some of the seats, as you can imagine, because these, not exactly sure how old they are, but they're definitely pretty old. So some of them are damaged. The old plywood is de-laminating. Little bits and pieces are starting to fall off, so we're going to have to fix that too. Okay, so it turns out that 3 of our plywood bases are damaged. We need to fix them up. They're not so bad that we need to completely replace them, but they're starting to delaminate. Little pieces are starting to break off. It's starting to, yeah. So we're going to use epoxy, going to use some webbing, little clamps, and we'll fix these up nice and strong. I like to use West System epoxy. This is a marine grade epoxy.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Thank you, able assistant. There we go. Mix that up real good. Oftentimes I mix sawdust in with the epoxy to thicken it, but because I want this to seep into tiny cracks, we're not going to do that. So we're going to mix this for about 30 seconds. It'll be ready. This stuff has a variable working time. If it's warm out and I leave it all in a bunch, it can go off in just like 10 minutes and turn into a solid mass. But if I use it and I spread it out, it usually gives me at least half an hour to work with it. Okay, I like these little acid solder brushes. They're sacrificial. You use them, throw them away. They used to be 10 for $1. So they're not going to bust your bank. Get a little goop on here. Work it in. Get our piece. I'm not going to epoxy both sides because it's not going to need it. There we go. Nope. Swipe. We'll get a little on, bridge the gap a little bit. There we go. That'll be just fine. Move on to the next one. This one's a little more, as you can see, it's really starting to delaminate here. So this is going to take a bit more product, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Chances are I'm not actually going to replace this nut. I'll make some thick epoxy and fill that gap later. Next, get our copper, scoop it up, put it right in that gap like that. There we go. Make sure to get that edge real good right here. There. Now with this, because it's going to be almost impossible, I'm going to throw that away. I'm going to clamp it. I got some 3/8" staples in here. This will hold those two edges together nicely. Put some more on the surface over here because that's trying to fall apart right here. Work that in there. Work that into the cracks where it's trying to split. Work some more in here. And then we have this last one. This one, a big problem is, not only are we missing a little nugget on the end here, this whole piece is just trying to just sort of fall apart a little bit. So, get some epoxy right up in here. Like that. Piece. And yes, I should be wearing gloves. I should be wearing gloves for this. It's not good to handle a lot of epoxy without gloves. There's a very good chance that I won't actually be able to restore this corner like this because it's falling apart so much. But yeah, it's not bad. Good. I need some of this. Get some scissors. Go in underneath everything like that. Then over the top like this. There we go. So we can come in on this side. Then come over the top. You can see it's starting to ooze through. Nope, that's not going to work there. Once that epoxy hardens, this is going to become a hardened piece. And this is going to act like fiberglass. There we go. Last thing we want to do is get this little split on the back here. This one. Pry it open, reach in. Once we get some goop in, we're good. Be careful with that one because you get close to that edge and it can pop through the other side. Work that right into that split. There we go.